Good morning, Year 9. I hope you're well and having a lovely day. Please could you write the date and the title, Beatrice overhears the ladies, the second gulling scene. So for this lesson, you'll need a copy of the extract from Act 3, Scene 1, access to YouTube to watch a clip and the scene summary to help you, and different coloured pens and highlighters. Please pause the video to make sure you have everything you need. So, what do we know about Hero so far? I'd like you to write down anything you can about her. Pause the video for 5 minutes to do this now. Okay, so you may have written, she's Leonardo's daughter and Beatrice's cousin. She is quiet around men. She has agreed to marry Claudio. She is short, according to Benedict. She is sweet and beautiful, according to Claudio. She is seen as worthy by Don Pedro, perhaps because she is Leonardo's only daughter and therefore his heir. If you didn't get what's on the slide, please can you write it down now. So, I'd like you to watch this clip from Act 3, Scene 1, Beatrice overhears. Start from 1 minute 14 seconds. I'd like you to write your first impressions about this scene. What is Hero like and how does Beatrice change? So pause the video for 10 minutes to do this now. So Hero as mistress, seeing a different side to her. Read the first part of the scene before Beatrice appears on the stage. How is Hero presented here? Pause the video for 5 minutes to do this now. Okay, so Hero presents herself as being in charge. She speaks at length and gives instructions to her maids in the imperative. Run thee, tell her, say that, look where, etc. She also presents herself as the mastermind of the plot. Talk only of Benedict and praise him. Say he is in love with Beatrice. Hero seems aware of the power, but also the limitations of overhearing somebody. She refers to the wounds of hearsay that this will bring in comparison to Cupid's arrow. So, reverse psychology. The ladies sound like they don't want to be overheard. Reverse psychology is a technique involving the assertion of a belief or behaviour that is the opposite to the one desired, with the expectation that this approach will encourage the subject of the persuasion to do what actually is desired. This technique relies on the psychological phenomenon of reactance, in which a person has a negative emotional reaction to being persuaded, and thus chooses the option which is being advocated against. In this scene, we see the ladies take the tack of reverse psychology to convince Beatrice to be with Benedict. They describe some of Beatrice's traits, which she might be aware of, but would not like to hear about herself, to suggest that Benedict is better off without her. Write down at least one example of how the ladies use reverse psychology to trick Beatrice. Pause the video for 5 minutes to do this. So they only praise Benedict. He deserves loves. It would be better for him not to be teased. He is a rare gentleman, unique, exceptional. He is the best man in Italy, except Claudio, according to Hero. Ursula argues that for shape, bearing, argument, and valour he is unbeaten. They describe her as she is too disdainful, proud, valuing her own wit highly, she thinks a lot of herself, cannot love, is so self-endeared, loves herself, sees the worst in all men, and mocks everyone. So do make a note of what is in orange. So dramatic irony and asides, we've talked about these before. Dramatic irony is where the audience knows something the characters don't, and we know that they're doing this deliberately, and an aside is a dramatic device in which the character speaks to the audience, usually brief, rather than a long speech such as a monologue or soliloquy. Just as in Act 2, Scene 3, the other gulling scene, asides are used to create dramatic irony and comedy. Write down at least one example of how dramatic irony is created in this scene through asides. Pause the video for 5 minutes to do this now. So I'd like you to read through the section on the slide and consider how this creates dramatic irony. Okay, setting a trap, language of hunting. I'd like you to read through Act 3, Scene 1, to find as many examples as you can that show language associated with hunting, for instance traps, fishing, and so on. Pause the video for 5 minutes to do this now. For a challenge, link back to Act 3, Scene 2 and consider what's similar about these scenes. So these are some things you may have come up with. The pleasance angling is to see the fish, cut with her golden arso the silver stream, and greedily devour the treacherous bait. Of the false sweet bait that we lay for it, she's limed, bird lime with a sticky substance spread onto twigs to trap small birds, and some Cupid kills with arrows, some with traps. If you didn't get these, please note them down. So Beatrice's change of heart. Beatrice is then left on stage all alone, and so, just like in Benedict's gulling scene, we have a soliloquy. Explore how Beatrice presents her feelings here. What fire is in mine eyes? Can this be true? What fire is in mine ears? Can this be true? Stand I condemned for pride and scorn so much? Contempt, farewell, and maiden pride adieu. No glory lives behind the back of such. And, Benedict, love on, I will requite thee, taming my wild heart to thy loving hand. If thou dost love, my kindness shall incite thee to bind our loves up in a holy brand. For others say thou dost deserve, and I believe it better than reporting thee. So pause the video, and consider how Beatrice presents her feelings. We've got 3 questions showing her uncertainty at the start. The idea she's been seen this way is hurtful, so we can see it from the word fire. She says goodbye to these qualities that she's been criticised for. Requite means to return. She sees herself as an animal, wild and needing taming. Holy band suggests marriage. Others have convinced her, but she now believes it more than them. And perhaps she felt it all along. So these scenes, sometimes referred to as the gulling scenes because the tricks, or overhearing eavesdropping scenes, are often looked at next to one another because they have many parallels. I'd like you to write down as many similarities as you can between the scenes. Pause the video for 5 minutes to do this now. So Benedict and Beatrice are hiding in both scenes, but the others know they're there. Dramatic irony. Both scenes have groups of only one gender discussing it. Realistic gossip. Both are tricked by hearing that the other loves them. Both scenes use asides that include language of trapping, such as fishing metaphors. Both scenes suggest that the other person is in pain or difficulty because of their unrequited or unreturned love. Both scenes include soliloquies to show reactions, and both seem willing to return the affection very quickly. Perhaps they have always been feeling this way. Note down anything you didn't get. So who is Hero? Today we've seen more of Hero than any part of the play. I'd like you to write a character profile for Hero. You could draw a picture and label it with as much detail as you can think of. Use evidence from at least 2 scenes and consider how Hero is presented differently depending on who she is with. Challenge. Include relevant context to explain why this might be the case. Pause the video for 10 minutes to do this final task. Okay, so that's now the end of today's lesson. Thank you very much for your hard work. I hope you found today's lesson interesting and enjoyable, and I will speak to you next time. Thank you and goodbye.